This is the video for Friday, March the 5th, and we had a remarkable day. We came down into really severely oversold area, and right around 11:30, everything turned around. We were so deeply oversold. Look at the high volume in the Dow, above average volume in the Nasdaq, very high volume in the S&P 500. Virtually everything was green, with exceptions of Costco, Tesla, Morgan Stanley, Boeing, but just a handful of stocks. But what happened? What technically happened? Was there any news at 11:30? Was there something technically that happened? Advancers ended up beating the decliners by 3-1, but we're not out of the woods yet, because all the McClellan oscillator has done is come back into this choppy area, indicating to us that the bears are still in charge, just like they were here, because you had this complex pattern building up underneath the neutral line that really wasn't able to hold anything above the neutral line before it got sucked down repeatedly. And then of course you had this big drop right here. So even though we had a little bit of a tick up here in the NYSE composite, we are not out of the woods by any means whatsoever. So having short calls on top of your stock is still good, but Friday was a day to buy the dip, and I bought Apple, I bought Square, and I bought BLDR, all stock. So let's look and see what happened technically. This is the 5-minute chart, and virtually everything started bouncing right about the same time. Naturally, that's what you expect. But let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at the 1 day. Let's go back and let's look at the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones low of the day was right here. That puts the Chiku span somewhere in this candle. So the Chiku span got support right there, pretty much on the 20-day simple moving average. Is that a reason for the market to turn around? No, not necessarily. So let's look at some other charts. Let's look at the Nasdaq, which certainly had a big reversal. Look at that, sticking its head into the cloud. But where did it end? It ended its return right at the 250 simple moving average and the EMA. Where did it have its low of the day? It went so oversold, the Chiku span went into the cloud. The candle continued down beyond the cloud. And if you look at Fibonacci's, oops, let's pull this one over. Why aren't we going over here? Let's just move this to the right. Come on. Where did we get support? Well, there wasn't a major, that could have been the 66. So we should have had it 66. So let's do 161.8 and let's apply that there. And we had our support right above that 161.8. So again, technically there was nothing on the Nasdaq daily that was showing that we were going to turn around, not technically. Now let's look at the S&P. If you look at the S&P, and let's pull up our Ichimoku, again, the low of the day was right here at the bottom, Chiku span at the bottom of this candle, and it finished the day above the candle, very bullish. It started the day above the cloud and remained above the cloud at the end of the day, stopping at the 8 EMA. But let's look at some stocks. First of all, volatility index. Volatility index dropped hugely. And how did that look out over the day? Here is the turnaround right there where we saw the S&P start to turn around and move back up. We saw the volatility index do the opposite naturally. This is what you expect. So this is scissor motion here. One goes up, the other goes down. Apple did have something to show us on the Ichimoku, and that would be the Chiku span right here falling below the cloud, low of the day. I thought when I was rehearsing this, I thought I saw something on Apple. Yes, no, Apple did come down actually below, the Chiku span did come below the cloud at one point in the day, and then had this bounce back up. Bullish, but still below the 8 EMA, certainly not out of the woods. Builder had a pretty good day. And let's go to the Ichimoku there. And we came down and we got support on the cloud, and then we bounced up. It was a good time to add more stock. In terms of where the Chiku span got its support right on the 8 EMA. So at one point in the day, the Chiku span was right down here and caught support. So we had a double event happening here. The Chiku span triggered buyers at the 8 EMA and triggered some buyers here when it hit the cloud. Home Depot, looking good. Turnaround, certainly not out of the woods yet. We're still looking at way below the cloud. Deere is doing the opposite. Deere is really quite strong. Started off on the 8 EMA, finished above. JP Morgan had a down day overall, and so did, no, US Bank didn't have a down day overall, I don't believe. US Bank had a pretty positive day and was up nicely. NIO had a major reversal from its low, and if we look at the Chiku and the Ichimoku, we can see that the Ichimoku ended up below the cloud on the day, but we had this bounce here, so the 200 was holding it up. We're so oversold we went below the 200, in between the two 200 moving averages, and we still have a gap down here, but it's below the 200. I think we should be safe for a while. But again, NIO, big strong pullback, stopped at 68.1% Fibonacci, and then pulled back. Plug had a pretty decent day, and you can see it stopped at the 50. It opened at the 50. It opened up here, went way oversold, closed right at the 50% Fibonacci, and the Chiku span right at the 50 simple moving average. What else do we want to look at? Square, of course. Square on the Ichimoku. Started the day, resistance on the cloud, pierced the cloud, went way oversold. The Chiku span went all the way down to here, pierced the cloud, and then you had just the market turning around, and we still finished the day off below the cloud, but a nice move up to finish higher. So it was a good day to buy the dip. Certainly you want to keep some liquidity on hand. I still have roughly 20% cash. I'm deploying it slowly. I've been buying BLDR. I've been buying Square. I've been buying Apple pretty consistently over the last 3 days. And I'm going to look for opportunities to, more pullback means throwing on short calls on top of those stocks. But what I'm thinking is the bears are still in charge here, and I won't feel better until we see a couple of days, at least a couple of days above the neutral line.